It's by Jay Diggs. Here's why every artist goes broke.
You ever see an artist with a platinum record, designer clothes, a Lambo in the background, and think, damn, they must be rich? Yeah, nah.
This music shit is a rap. I'm saying all of the musicians are broke.
There's only a few artists in the game that really make money. So everything you seeing ain't real.
I was really thinking, bro, why do everybody got money and I don't got no money? Is it because I'm independent? The truth is, everybody didn't have no money. But, you know, they don't tell you that because the label job is to make it look like you got some money. We'll give you the car, we're gonna give you the cosigns, we're gonna put you in the studio with this motherfucker, we're gonna have cameras following you around everywhere you go. I was thinking like, damn, everybody getting money but me. But nah, everybody look like they got money except me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Some of your favorite artists were living off ramen noodles while topping the Billboard charts. And not just one-hit wonders. I'm talking about legends.
One Kingston, bro. That's just heavy.
Grammy winners. Icons. Dead broke. In this video, we're diving into the brokest artists in the music industry. Some lost it all from bad deals, and others just made terrible decisions. But the ending is always the same. Broken dreams, empty wallets, and sometimes FBI raids. Let's get into it. Before they went broke, TLC was untouchable. The trio, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Tion T-Boz Watkins, and Rosanda Chili Thomas, exploded onto the scene in the early 90s with a unique blend of R&B, hip-hop, and pop. Their debut album, Ooh, on the TLC tip, set the stage. But it was Crazy, Sexy, Cool that turned them into legends. That album went 12 times platinum. They were everywhere. MTV, BET, award shows. They won Grammys. They influenced fashion. They became role models. Their image was bold, their music was iconic, and their success was unstoppable. Until it wasn't. In 1995, the headlines hit. TLC files for bankruptcy.
We are the biggest selling female group ever. 10 million albums worldwide. We have worked very hard. We have been in this business for 5 years. And we are broke as broke can be, and we're not like trying to be a sad story. If that was the case, we would have been on everybody's talk show talking about how broke we are. We haven't done that. I know it's hard to believe because we've sold so many albums, but it is possible. That's the deal here. So, and we're not happy at all.
How does that even happen? Here's the trick.
What about Michael Jackson? It's kind of like, I guess they reinvest all their money, and then all that sort of shit. Because Michael Jackson, he bought his last album was $30 million. Crazy. That's like $50 million.
They signed to LaFace Records under a contract so predatory, it could have been drafted by a Bond villain. TLC earned less than 10 cents per album sold. By the time you cut that up between 3 people, take out taxes, pay managers, lawyers, stylists, and recoup the label's expenses, it's ramen noodles budget at best. They were handed what's called an advance. Money that's not free, by the way. It's basically a loan. The label pays for studio time, marketing, tours, then they charge it all back to the artist before royalties even hit their pocket. It's like being told, hey, congratulations, you made $1 million. Now you gotta pay back this $950,000 bill. And here's the kicker. While TLC was struggling, their label execs were becoming millionaires. Off of their backs, Clive Davis and LaFace execs were getting bonuses from the same albums TLC couldn't even eat off of. Even their lawyers were double dipping, advising the girls while also working with the label. It was a textbook case of exploitation disguised as opportunity. This wasn't just bad business. This was a system designed to trap young, talented black women into signing their rights away before they even knew what publishing was. Lisa Left Eye Lopez literally broke it down on national TV. The group was selling out stadiums, breaking records, and each member was walking away with only $50,000. Meanwhile, the label executives, they was eating filet mignon off their platinum plaques.
This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. And everyone get ready to do your math. Okay, there are 100 points on the album. TLC had 7. Every point is equal to 8 cents. All right? 7 times 8, 56 cents. But as time went on, we learned a lot. That means every time an album gets sold, TLC gets 56 cents. So 10 million records, $5.6 million. Seems like a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot of money when the record company has spent $3 million to record your album. And in the record business, we pay all costs back to the record company. We pay recording costs, video costs. So now we have $2.6 million left. Well, guess what? When you have that much money, you're in about the 47, 48, 49% tax bracket. So that immediately gets deducted to $1.3 million. Then you split the rest 3 ways. You got about $300,000 apiece, if that much. Okay? $300,000. I can buy a nice house with that. And what am I gonna pay my bills with?
Left Eye said it best. This is how a group can sell 10 million albums and be broke. Let that sink in. T-Pain didn't just make hits. He rewired the sound of modern hip-hop and pop. Before him, autotune was mostly used to discreetly correct pitch. And after him, it became a stylistic weapon. From Buy You a Drink to Bartender, to every feature in the mid-2000s, his voice wasn't just recognizable. It became the sound of the entire era. And that's not an exaggeration. Without T-Pain, there's no Kanye West on 808s and Heartbreak. There's no Travis Scott space crooning over dark trap beats. No Future melodic mumble rap.
Facts.
Even Kanye admitted it. T-Pain walked so he could 808.
It really came down to the same fact of what Kanye told me. Like, you know, he'd said to me that 808s and Heartbreaks is Rapper Turn Singer. Because Rapper Turn Singer was a bunch of love songs with a ton of bass in them. And I'm making love songs with bass, love songs being the heartbreak, 808s being the bass. So in a sense, we just kind of remade Rapper Turn Singer, but you know, in all honesty, just like Kanye said, he just had a better marketing plan.
At one point, T-Pain was so dominant that if you were an artist without a T-Pain feature, you were probably just waiting for one. He was everywhere. Grammys, BET, MTV, Billboard. And behind all of it, he was raking in what he said was over 40 million. Then, he lost it all. T-Pain went on a now legendary interview circuit explaining how he blew through every dollar.
When you say you was broke, was you at like $0 broke?
I like had to borrow money to get my kids Burger King.
Bruh.
Wow.
Yeah.
After having, what's the most you ever had in the bank at one time?
40 million.
Jesus Christ, T-Pain. How do you have a hairline? My God. $40 million to zero?
Real estate deals gone wrong. A $1.2 million Bugatti that kept breaking down. Jewelry, chains, custom speakers, and a stripper pole in the living room. He admitted he didn't invest. He didn't budget and trusted the wrong people. Eventually, the money dried up. He said at one point he couldn't afford to take his kids to Burger King.
If I would have had the information beforehand, I would have done better in my career. I would have been bigger. I would have gone broke. I would have never done anything. But everybody before me that I had to look up to, they were just like, no, this is great. Once you start rapping, it's just money all the time. Just, nothing's ever gonna happen bad. Nothing bad's ever gonna happen. Your family's not gonna come after you. Nothing's gonna happen.
Imagine going from Billboard #1s to struggling with fast food money. But unlike some others, T-Pain got real about it. He got on Twitch, started producing his own music again, toured smart, and became an advocate for financial literacy. His comeback was humble, honest, and a warning to artists of today. He said, don't just get money, learn how to keep it. Before the money problems, B.O.B. looked like he was headed for Rap Pop Hall of Fame. In 2010, he dropped B.O.B. Presents The Adventures of Bobby Ray.
Damn,
It blew up. He had major hits with Bruno Mars, Nothing on You, Haley Williams' Airplanes, Rivers Cuomo's Magic. Every single felt like a summer anthem. He wasn't just getting radio spins. He was crossing genres, collaborating with rock stars, performing on award shows, headlining tours.
I forgot about
But behind the scenes, the checks weren't checking. B.O.B. eventually came out and said it plainly. He was broke. He signed with Atlantic Records early in his career, and like many major label deals, his contract was designed to benefit the label, not the artist. He didn't own his music. He didn't control the revenue streams. Despite dropping platinum singles, his bank account barely reflected his success. He compared it to being trapped. The more hits he made, the more the label profited. And he just watched everyone else get rich off his work.
I got signed at, so like typically when you're an artist or you're doing a deal, a record deal, you do the record deal and then someone's probably gonna approach you for a publishing deal if you songwrite or produce or something like that. And so, I mean, even if you don't, I mean, you're an artist, so someone's gonna make money.
So he broke free. He left Atlantic, went independent, and started selling music directly to his fans. He began to earn money only when he left the system that exploited him. Think about that. One of the most recognizable voices of the early 2010s had to start from scratch just to make a real living. That's not a one-off story. That's industry standard. What makes B.O.B.'s story even sadder is he was marketed as a success story, the genre-bending smart rapper who made it mainstream. But behind closed doors, the pressure to deliver crossover hits meant he lost creative control. And by the time he wanted to pivot and talk about deeper topics, the label didn't care.
Damn, y'all gotta be
His decline
careful.
wasn't just financial, it was emotional and artistic too. When he finally went indie, he started rapping about conspiracies and government control. To some fans, it seemed like he snapped. But maybe he was just finally speaking freely for the first time in years. Kesha exploded in 2009.
Damn, y'all gotta be careful what agent you get, what manager you get, labels, everything. Yeah, damn.
With TikTok, one of the most infectious, high-energy pop songs of the 2000s. It broke records. It made her a star overnight. She followed it up with bangers like We Are Who We Are, Blow, and Die Young. Her image, glitter, rebellion, party girl chaos. Her reality, legal shackles. Despite all those hits, Kesha wasn't free. She was signed to Dr. Luke under Sony.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes,
Who
she was
watching
locked in
this
one
shit?
of the ugliest contracts disputes in music history. In 2014, she sued Dr. Luke for sexual assault, battery, and emotional abuse, claiming he controlled every aspect of her career and threatened to ruin her if she spoke out. But because he owned her contract, the lawsuit turned into a legal tug of war over her ability to release music at all. For years, Kesha couldn't drop music without going through the same man she was accusing of abuse. And to make things worse, she still owed him albums. If she broke the contract, she'd be sued. If she stayed, she'd have to work with him. It's a lose-lose scenario. And with that came a huge financial cost. While her old singles racked up hundreds of millions of streams, Kesha was spending millions on legal fees, not making millions from her royalties. She was one of the most famous women in pop, but she couldn't fully tour, promote, or even release music the way other artists could. For nearly 5 years, she was bleeding money while the industry moved on. Even when she dropped her powerful comeback album, Rainbow, in 2017, it was still released under the label that was tied to Dr. Luke, meaning he still profited from it. She was literally paying the man she was trying to escape from. Kesha's story isn't just about financial downfall. It's about how an artist at the top of the charts can be creatively and financially imprisoned by bad contracts and legal entanglements. And here's the real kicker. TikTok was once the most downloaded digital single in history. It made tens of millions, but the person who sang it barely saw any of it. Before the memes, Bow Wow was a superstar. He was discovered by Snoop Dogg at the age of 6 and later signed by Jermaine Dupri. By the time he was 13,
I didn't know Bow Wow was Burke. Bro, he can't be now. Bro's doing really good right now.
he already dropped his debut album, Beware the Dog. It went triple platinum.
Legend.
He was
Bow Wow was a
the few
legend.
child rappers who actually transitioned into mainstream fame. He starred in movies like Mike, Roll Bounce, The Lottery Ticket, had endorsement deals. He was all over 106 & Park and even hosted it for a while. Bow Wow wasn't just an artist, he was a brand. But somewhere between the glow up and the grown up phase, the money started to vanish. Despite being a household name for nearly a decade,
kinda
Bow Wow
disappeared,
started making headlines for all the wrong reasons. In 2017, he posted a photo on Instagram implying that he was flying on a private jet. A fan quickly exposed him, because see, they were on the same commercial flight. the internet exploded.
I got caught.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I was fake flexing. I got caught. No, I was not a coach. I was on a Delta flight in first class. Can't explain it enough. Didn't think nothing of it. Like, I did, like, saw the picture. I said, I'm about to post this because I don't want people to know how I'm moving.
Right.
And I posted it to try to derail people. Like, I post stuff all the time, and people are like, you there? No, I ain't there. I'm at the house on the couch.
Right.
I just wanted to post it. Get out my phone. What is it called? A dump.
Yeah.
Get it out. On this particular day, I posted. I'm like, cool. I can go to sleep now. People don't know. They think I'm on this, and I'm not on here. I'm throwing everybody off.
Somebody actually followed you. Somebody's on the plane.
What we say about them phones? Got me, posted it, and I just had to own up to it. Like, y'all got me. Okay. You know how many rappers lie?
Right.
Y'all caught me one time.
Right.
I will never do this again.
Right.
It's over.
The Bow Wow Challenge was born. People posted fake flexes, mocking celebrity culture. But it wasn't just
Bow
funny.
Wow Challenge
It
is
was
fucking
revealing.
crazy.
Bow Wow had allegedly been leasing most of his luxury cars, was sued multiple times for unpaid show fees, and owed thousands in back taxes. His finances weren't lining up with the image he projected. In interviews, he admitted often he felt pressure to maintain a lavish lifestyle to stay relevant, because in the music industry, perception is currency. And for someone who grew up in the spotlight, the idea of looking broke might have been scarier than actually being broke. Bow Wow's fall is also a reflection of what happens when you grow up in the spotlight with no blueprint. He started in the music industry before he was even old enough to drive. He never had a childhood, a financial mentor, or even a moment to pause and plan. Everything was about staying hot. And when your brand is tied to always having it, there's no room for failure, even privately. It's why so many child stars end up in similar cycles. Too much fame, too soon, and no safety net when the lights fade. When Sean Kingston dropped Beautiful Girls in 2007, he was only 17 years old. That song catapulted him into global fame. It was infectious, catchy, and stayed on the Billboard charts for weeks. He followed it up with Fire Burning and collabs with Justin Bieber and Nicki Minaj. For a minute, Kingston was that guy, a pop reggae crossover star with international reach. He was living the dream, touring, buying mansions, flexing, luxury jewelry, even showing off his cars on MTV Cribs. But behind the scenes, it was a financial house of cards. Fast forward to 2024, his Florida mansion was raided by a SWAT team. Court documents revealed that he and his mother were allegedly involved in a series of fraudulent purchases. Unpaid jewelry, exotic cars, tech gear, and even a $150,000 TV. It wasn't just one missed payment. It was a systemic fraud. They allegedly used fake wire transfers to convince companies they had money, had luxury items shipped, and then ghosted on the invoices. It was the luxury version of Dine and Dash. He was arrested in California and extradited, and his mom was arrested in Florida. And while his attorney claims it's all a misunderstanding, the receipts say otherwise. Sean Kingston went from summer anthem king to headline news, and not in the way you want. The Sean Kingston situation is so bizarre because he didn't just fall off, like he leaned into it. He leaned into the chaos. Reports say that he literally was running a fake lifestyle empire, promising performances, ordering luxury items that he never intended to pay for, and started using his fame as currency. One lawsuit claims that he used Justin Bieber's name to secure equipment. It's the ultimate example of how celebrity can be weaponized, not for success, but for survival. MC Hammer was at the top of the world at one time. You Can't Touch This was a cultural phenomenon.
Can't touch this.
He sold more than 30 million records and had brand deals, cartoon shows, and stadium tours. At his peak, Hammer was worth over 30 million. But he didn't just spend, he burned through the money. He bought a $12 million mansion in California. He kept a staff of over 200 people on his payroll, bodyguards, entourage, chefs, and even someone to take care of the horses. He had horses. He was the original giving back to the hood rapper, which is admirable, but without boundaries, it became financially catastrophic. Within a few years, he filed for bankruptcy. At one point, he owed more than $13 million. The fall
that's crazy.
was so dramatic. One minute you're too legit to quit, and the next you're too broke to function. Even crazier, MC Hammer tried to make up for it by going back to what he knew best, performing. But the magic was gone. He toured small venues, released gospel albums.
It would have been hard back then. This is the only thing he has, I guess, as income, you know what I mean?
And even started a tech company at one point. None of it stuck. MC Hammer was generous, but to a fault. He gave jobs to everyone from his old neighborhood, and some say he was trying to buy loyalty, and others say he just didn't know how to say no. Either way, Hammer didn't blow $30 million on himself. He blew it trying to take everybody with him. To his credit though, he eventually bounced back. He became a pastor, made some smart tech investments in Silicon Valley, and started living well within his means. But his rise and his fall is one of the most infamous financial stories in music history. Now, this next artist wrote one of my favorite songs as a kid. I had no business listening to it, but in 1999, Cisco dropped the Thong Song. He became a global superstar overnight. The track was ridiculous, outrageous, and massive. It went platinum, got nonstop airplay, and made Cisco a household name. He leaned into the success, bleached blonde hair, flashy outfits, and high energy performances. His debut solo album, Unleash the Dragon, was a commercial success. But as quickly as he rose, the industry shifted. His follow-up albums didn't perform as well. He was hit with label issues, and most critically, he didn't own a major piece of the Thong Song. The producers of the song originally sampled Eleanor Rigby, but replaced it with new strings. They dodged that bullet, but the real trouble came when Cisco insisted on using lyrics and melody from Ricky Martin's song, Livin' La Vida Loca.
That's crazy.
The producers warned him.
Even lyrics.
But Cisco didn't listen. And the result? The writer of Livin' La Vida Loca, Desmond Child, owns most of the publishing of the Thong Song. Cisco got paid a flat fee and minimal royalties.
All of a sudden, like, you start seeing your publishing checks going.
Desmond Child has more ownership of the song than anyone.
But that didn't stop Cisco from living a lavish life. He kept spending like the money would never stop. Fashion, videos, touring. But the cash flow dried up fast. He went from a global icon to struggling to book shows. The Cisco story also reveals something pretty tragic about one-hit wonders. Even when you make that song, the kind everyone remembers, if the publishing and licensing isn't in your name, it doesn't matter. The track made millions for the label, the writers, the producer. But Cisco, he only made a fraction. Years later, he admitted he had financial regrets and made poor business decisions. It's the classic case of blowing up without a financial game plan. Toni Braxton was the voice of the 90s. Deep, sultry, emotional. She made Heartache sound expensive. Her 93 album sold over 10 million copies. And then came Unbreak My Heart, one of the biggest ballads of all time. She had Grammys, platinum plaques, sold out tours, and one of the most iconic voices in R&B. And then she filed for bankruptcy. Not once, but twice. Her first bankruptcy came in 1998, right after her career-defining run. She has sold over 15 million albums worldwide, yet she only had $2,000 in her checking account. It was the classic music industry trap. She signed a contract with guess who? LaFace Records. They gave her less than 35 cents per album. After all the label fees and recoupment and management cuts, the label made tens of millions, and she got scraps. And the real twist, she couldn't even perform her own songs. During the bankruptcy, the judge barred her from touring because the rights to her music were technically owned by the creditors. Imagine being world famous and not being able to sing the songs that made you famous. But it gets worse. In 2010, after recovering, restarting her career, and getting back on TV, she filed for bankruptcy again. It's reported she owed between $10 and $50 million in unpaid debts. Why? She was living a lavish lifestyle, had unpaid taxes, but also she was facing legit medical issues. She was diagnosed with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease, and had to cancel shows, which meant losing tons of income. She said she was sick, couldn't perform, and still had to pay for stylists, dancers, and a tour bus that she didn't use. At one point, Toni had to auction off her awards, furniture, and the rights to her royalties just to pay bills. She lost the rights to some of her biggest songs and still kept getting labeled as difficult or bad with money. Toni Braxton's story isn't just sad, it's infuriating. She had talent, the sales, the fame, and the industry still ate her alive. Because in music, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you own. The music industry is brutal. It doesn't matter how famous you are. If you don't own your music, manage your money, or understand your contracts, you can end up broke with a plaque on your wall.
But I'm out of the music industry because ain't no money in the
that's-
music industry.
That's crazy.
And I know people might get mad and trip, but
That's
I'm just
sad.
saying, y'all know it's a lot of things that we used to do. It ain't no money, and you know it done tapped out. They trying to figure out how to make money off of streams. When Snoop put a post up, said, man, I sold 1 billion streams. I only made this little money. Where the millions at? We knew where our money from because we had tangible goods. And that's why I got into the product game. We could actually have tangible goods. I told people all the time, product outweighs talent. Product gonna be around when we not here. Michael Jordan is still successful because of the shoes, not because him shooting balls into the hoop. That been over.
So the next time you see a rapper in a Lambo and a $100,000 chain, just remember, just how you have to pay back the money on your credit card, that artist has to pay back that advance. You see, in the music industry, the richer they look, the broker they might be. Now, one artist that didn't go broke is Michael Jackson.
Bro, he was $500 million in debt, wasn't he?
Even in his grave, he's still making millions. I have a video where I go deep into the impact he had on the music industry and how artists are building their entire careers off his style. Watch this video on the screen next to see more. And have you noticed how today's biggest artist...
Yeah, but that's crazy that, like, all them artists, bro,